Ooh, we're making another one of these. So previously in this little series of videos, I looked at the first proper short film I made after university, the first film that I made that won a bunch of awards, and now we're looking at my most disliked video on all of YouTube. Even though it's unreasonably hot today, I do have a cup of tea because I am British and I am going to be dealing with a lot of feelings in this video. Ugh, I'm an idiot. That's not very good at all. What was I thinking? What is wrong with me? So, I need my comfort blanket. Okay, I've rewatched The Sweetest Death, and there's a lot to say. I know I've been sort of de-hyping this film up as being terrible, but there's actually quite a lot of stuff that I really like about this. For example, the camera moves, generally speaking, are really, really, really good. You've got this kind of smooth motion, the camera is really locked in on her and follows her, really brings you into her head in a way that I feel like is very similar to what I did in Don't, and I think it works in a pretty similar way, and it works pretty well. Similarly, there are some actually pretty gorgeous shots. Like the one of him kneeling down to pick up the key, that's great. That wide-angle shot of the bowl of sweets also looks pretty good. Even though it was mostly because of the location that we actually used, I really like the lighting. Just kind of works pretty well, which is nice. So the first scare in the film, the jump scare at the door, I'm pretty pleased with that. It works pretty well. It's gone down to positive reviews. Structurally speaking, I kind of like the fact that we start with the hammer, and then we go to the bowl of sweets, and then we go back to the hammer, and then we go back to the bowl of sweets, and it's got that nice kind of cyclical thing going on. It's not perfect, but I'll get back to that. But generally speaking, I like the idea of the sweets and the hammer. Teal, my actress in this film, great job. She was terrified. Like, you can see the fear on her face throughout the whole thing, which is great. Was a little bit distracting when I was directing because I wasn't used to working with that much emotional life running through. So, but again, I can come back to that. Something that's kind of a positive and kind of a negative is this shot here is entirely stolen from the Ice Bucket Challenge film that I did the year before I went to university. It's the same mask and everything.
Oh my god, that's cold!
So, moving on to the negatives. Oh god, where do we start? So the first problem is kind of a sound design problem, kind of an editing problem, just a general overall timing problem, which is that we cut in too quickly from the title to the little thing that's just been hammered into the wall. Like, that's too quick. You wouldn't have time to, like, take the hammer away and take your hands away. So there's a disconnect there already. It just needed to be, like, less than half a second longer, and it would have functioned far better. The shot itself that we open on, I kind of like that it's a little bit abstract, but it's not pretty. Like, it's a bit grainy, and I didn't get the color right on it, so it's a little bit pink, and you don't really get much of a sense of, like, her hands. Originally, this was meant to be, like, a whole, like, mini scene with, like, 3 shots, but none of the shots looked good, so I ended up with just this one shot, and I don't, like, right from the start, I don't like it. The font, some of you may recognize the font. It's a fan-made replica of the font used on the album cover for the Black Parade. Big love to all my emo friends out there. Rock on, or something. I don't know. So when I originally shot this shot of the bowl of sweets, something that I really liked was the fact that she comes in from the far side of the room, goes out of frame, and then reaches back into frame to pick up a sweet. That was pretty cool, and I liked that. But I had it in my head that this film couldn't be longer than 3 minutes, not including titles and credits. So I was honed in on it's got to be 3 minutes, so I decided to cut it out. And I think the shot suffers for it, and I think the tempo of the piece doesn't work as well. And like, if you're going to use that wide angle lens, you might as well include something in the background. Like, if you're going to do a close-up like that without anything in the background, just use a longer lens. It'll look prettier and you'll get exactly the same amount of visual information. Next up, we have the light not matching to the outside. So I use just a little bit of a daylight balanced LED panel that I have, just shove that outside just to brighten up her face. However, when we cut out from that shot to the wider shot, there's this big chunk of blue that's in the mid shot that's not in the wide shot, that it just doesn't match. Ugh. So then we get this whole little like interaction thing between the guy standing outside and her inside, and it kind of works and it's fine. Then we get the jump scare. Well, hey, jump scare. That works pretty well too. Fine with it. Let's carry on to the stuff that doesn't work. So he has a knife. I draw no attention to this fact. I do not point out the fact that he has a knife. Like, it's just there in the wide shot. That's an important piece of information. It's a very important piece of information. But I don't treat it like it is. Why not? Because I'm an idiot. Next, we have this thing that I really quite like, which I didn't mention when I was talking about the things that I liked, which is we move entirely into her space. So this close-up is now not on that long lens, it's on a wider lens, far closer to her, inside the room with her, which brings you in to her emotional space and her life, and then we also get even closer close-ups of him from her point of view. Great. Good storytelling. Well done, Matthew. Another good bit of storytelling, which I only kind of mentioned earlier, this wide shot from like right down here, that really draws your attention to the plant pot and everything before you know what's going on. So in that way, it kind of functions as a close-up whilst also including the visual information of where he is and where she is. Nice. All in all, it's a great shot that I love, and there's absolutely nothing... Wait a second, is that a tripod in the background? So this is what I like to call glaring continuity issue number one. It is a glaring continuity issue. And I did not notice it until I was prepping to make this video. I'd be a great script supervisor, wouldn't I? Game of Thrones, hire me! I'll notice things. So her move away from the door didn't end up anything like I wanted it to, and anything like I had it in the script. I think this was just because it was my first time working with an actor under really sort of heightened emotional stakes. This is a like life or death situation. The actor's gonna have a lot running through them. So the way that I originally had it planned was that she would slowly back away from the door until she got to the top of the stairs, keeping her eye on the killer at all times, and then we'd cut to her point of view, also slowly moving back. And then when she gets to the top of the stairs, she runs down and grabs the hammer. The idea is it's a bit like the basement scene from Zodiac, because I really like that scene. However, that didn't feel right to the actress on the day. She wanted to run, and so no matter how many takes we did it, she couldn't do that move slowly. So it didn't really work cutting it the way that I wanted to, which I think kind of threw off the tempo of the piece as a whole, but it kind of works. She does walk out of focus though, which is not ideal. But then it's fine, you get this kind of rush in. I have mixed feelings about that bit. However, if we're talking about focus, this shot where she's coming up the stairs, that's very soft. That's very soft focus. That's not good. That's not very good at all. Oops. So I kind of don't really like the shots of the back door being open. So I was shooting this on a gimbal. So I wanted to use this longer prime lens for that shot, but the gimbal wouldn't balance with that lens on the camera because the weight was all off. So I just kind of let the gimbal kind of balance itself even though I hadn't properly calibrated it, which is a terrible idea and it's very bad for the gimbal. Which means that the motion of these point of view shots is a little bit off. So it's kind of smooth and it's kind of got that gimbal Steadicam feel, which is what I wanted. But it also kind of jitters, but not in a handheld way. So ultimately, the movements feel like mistakes, which is really annoying, and I don't like it very much. I've talked about the close-up and the reveal that he's behind her already, and it kind of works, but I don't like what I did with sound there. I did this really cheesy sound ramp. She also reacted to the mask being lifted up rather than the crunch of the sweet, which is what it's meant to be in the original script. And on the day, I was like, oh, that reaction kind of works, and it kind of adds suspense because it's like, she knows that he's there, but she's not turned around yet. I prefer the dramatic irony. Looking back at it now, I'd much rather that I'd stuck to my guns and said, don't hear the mask. Do not hear the mask at all. And then when you hear the crunch, that's when you turn around. I think that would have worked much better. It would have played into the overall structure with the hammer and the sweets. Would have been great. But I didn't do that because I'm a fool. So shooting the bowl of sweets in Derry's hand and the sweet going up to the mouth, that was one of the last things that we did. I didn't get a shot that felt like it worked timing-wise with the actually seeing the bowl in his hand and then up to the mouth. So you don't really see the bowl in the shot that's tracking up to the mouth. I think it would have been very important to actually get a close-up on the bowl of sweets. I think we needed that for the storytelling. Kind of annoyed that I didn't get it properly. This could have been a point where we could have reused that wide-angle shot from the very beginning, because that would have established the fact that both the keys and the bowl of sweets are gone. And that would have added a little bit more tension in. That would have been great. But we didn't do it. Okay. Let's talk about the one thing that I hate about this film the most. Because I hate it so much. I hate it so much. So much. That is glaring continuity error number 2. Derry has the bowl of sweets, but the bowl of sweets is also over there. Also, the door is open, but the door is also closed. What was I thinking? What is wrong with me? I am such... I'm fine. This is fine. It's fine. If I'd done every single thing that I mentioned, but I'd still made that continuity error, I would still hate the film just as much. Although I don't hate the film because in a lot of ways it did exactly what I wanted it to. But in a lot of ways it's also a massive failure. I'm so conflicted. I think it is worth addressing, though, the fact that this film kind of, in some ways, was a little bit doomed on a deeper level because of the way that I approached it. In a lot of ways, I didn't actually think about it as a proper short film, which I think I probably should have done. In my mind, I thought about making this as an exercise in tension and an exercise in horror storytelling and thriller storytelling. And as that exercise, it was kind of a success, but I didn't really care about making it at all original. I just dove straight into all of the horror tropes. Didn't really put any of my own spin on it. I just kind of used all the tropes and techniques as well as I possibly could, sort of without caring about the final product. And that is why the final product suffered. So in future, if I make anything like this again, which I kind of want to because it's a really nice format, that sort of under 5 minute little tension box. So if I ever do anything in that format again, I'm really going to aim to care about what I'm doing and not just treat it as a filmmaking exercise, because I think that's what ultimately doomed this project. This is going to be the longest video of this series of videos, so I really hope that some people actually watch to the end, because, oh god, I've had so much to say just tearing into this short, because I made so many mistakes. I got so much of this wrong. It's a learning experience. It was a development opportunity. I feel so developed. If you like this video, I do have 2 others that I've made about the award-winning film and the first film that I made since university, kinda. You can find those on my channel. I'm gonna link to them at the end or something. And I'm planning on making at least one more about the film I made with an iPhone. I've got a bunch more video essay things coming. I've got some media that made me's in the workses, because everyone seems to like those. So yeah, like and subscribe, and share this if you found it interesting or useful. Yeah, that's how people end videos. I'm a proper YouTuber. Look at me go.